Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Captain Logan Show. It is me, Captain Logan, and joining me as always is my fantastic chat moderator and producer, DJ Martinez. It has been a couple weeks since we've seen you folks, and that means there's a ridiculous, absurd amount of news to cover. And as always, I'm going to try a rapid-fire news show and fail horribly, I am sure. But I have a bazillion articles pulled up, and the way I want to handle this tonight, DJ, is I'm going to do a couple of pieces of news, and then we'll go to the proverbial phones, and then I'll jump back to that. We'll kind of bounce back and forth with that tonight. And so if folks bring up anything that I was planning on talking about later, you'll just get it earlier, and I don't know that I'm going to hit every single article I've pulled up. I mean, I probably have like 14, 15 things here. And the way I want to handle it is give you a piece of, because I call the show tonight Good News and Bad News, and you guys can help me decide which you want to hear first. The way I'd love to handle it is, here's a piece of good news, and here's a piece of bad news. But you know, it's 2023, and I'm sorry to say, there's probably more bad news than good news, but there are a few kind of fun and neat things that I'll bring up that at least I am halfway excited about, or better. And we got like a bunch of, well, I don't want to spoil anything yet. We'll get there when we get there. Anyway, DJ, how have you been doing, man?
I think I've been doing good, as far as I can remember. My memory's, getting worse and worse these days, but as far as I know, I'm doing well.
I mean, I haven't seen you in 2 weeks. Like, any exciting developments, or has it just been kind of same old, same old? You know?
Well, not as exciting as you, sir.
Yeah, well, that's only news to you, you know. I've known about it for a bit, but I had to wait a while before I could tell everybody. In case you missed the memo, and thanks for all the kind words from the folks that responded to social media on this, but my wife is pregnant again. We're going to, unless we're going to break the record, but I think when you have children, every time you have a kid, you're breaking your record. But we're going to have our 6th child in December or January. The due date is January 4th, and so it is likely to be before that, but it's kind of gone back and forth with us. Sometimes we have to induce, and sometimes Sarah will deliver early, so we'll see what happens this time around. Obviously, we're just kind of hoping for not like an on-Christmas baby, but I'm actually hoping for New Year's. I think that would be pretty cool, like on New Year's or New Year's Eve, where it's like, let's have a big party where the kid stays up all night. That sounds fun.
Yeah, that'd be crazy. Yeah, because she's right around January. Wow, I actually don't know. You haven't told me what it is, but
we don't know yet. Sarah is. You know what? I don't even know the week count now. Now that
I'm just hoping for
I'm
a
saying
she,
that,
so it's a perfect.
We're not more than, what is it? See, I hate to even say now. I think we're past week 9. Anyway, we're late and we're early enough still though that we can't know gender yet. But for folks that have asked, no, we are definitely not having twins or triplets. We have had our first ultrasound, and we could tell for sure that we're only having a single baby this time. So that was a huge relief for Sarah for lots of obvious reasons. But she was really on pins and needles about it, like, because the odds of getting twins are increased by having them, in the first place. And there's a couple other factors with us that I don't want to get too personal or anything that made it as likely or more so that this time we would have twins again. So we were really hoping that we would get lucky and that wouldn't happen. But hey, DJ, you want to know the names we're kicking around?
Sure. Is it?
I've actually not publicly talked about this yet. I think
Hellraiser?
No, not Hellraiser. So people are like, oh, are you going to go horror again? Or like, have you ran out of horror stuff? In case you
Batman again?
Missed what our last kids are named. So we have
Alfred.
We have twin girls. We're not, or pardon me, we didn't go horror for them. We went with Batman names, so we've got Selena and Cassandra, and right now we're kicking around a pair of names, again, not twins, but we don't know if it's a boy or a girl yet, that would potentially hit actually both beats, which is kind of crazy. Although for a girl, we're between a couple of things right now, but DJ, we have come up with a name for a boy and a girl that would be both horror and Batman simultaneously.
Ooh.
Isn't that spectacular? So
pretty good.
We've nailed down the boy name. We know for sure what that's going to be if it's a boy, and I'm kind of in a way pulling more for a boy this time, just because the name is so good. If it's a boy, we're going with Jack Stryker. Yeah.
Jack Stryker.
Jason goes, he sounds like a spy. Well, that's what Austin said, too. Austin was like, oh, well, like, you're not going to get better than a name than that. You have to go with that. Jack Stryker. I've wanted to go with Stryker for a first or middle name for, like a couple kids now.
That's amazing.
And when I tossed that out, because Sarah was real hung on Jack. She really wanted to do that. And when I said Stryker, she was like, done. He was like, that's
But then he's going to be your arch nemesis.
It kind of sounds like it, yeah. But that gives you horror and Batman at the same time. Jack Napier with Batman, and obviously there's actually a couple Jacks in the horror realm. We're kind of touching the horror realm with Jack Torrance and also Jack Skellington, which is what Mikey's so excited about with us potentially having a kid named Jack. That kid is going to have so much Nightmare Before Christmas stuff. And then if it's a girl and we go with that same scheme, we're back to Carrie again, which is what we were going to name a girl if we only had one last time. But because it was two, we went with the Batman theme. Didn't even occur to me at that point that Carrie also gets you, I don't know why I didn't think of it, but it occurred to me this time, also gets you to horror and Batman simultaneously, because Carrie is obvious, but then Carrie Kelly is the Robin, the female Robin from Dark Knight Returns.
There you go. So you're set.
Crazy? Yeah. If we end up going that way. But the other name, I think the name that Sarah's got at the top of her list, I like a lot too, and I kind of helped her come up with. It's not themed in any way whatsoever. It's just a name that we liked, which is Autumn. She and I both landed on that. I've always liked that name a lot. And then the middle name would be Rain. And the only thing, I love it, but the only thing that's weird about it is it's going to be a Christmas baby. And we're going to name it Autumn Rain in December. So...
yeah, well, winter snow doesn't have the same
yeah,
ring
exactly.
to it. I know
we didn't talk about snow, but we talked about winter as a name. Because I said, Sarah, you can't name a kid Autumn in December, and she was like, fine, winter, whatever. And then she goes, yeah, you can. You can do whatever you want to. It's your kid.
That's true. I knew a girl in high school named Autumn River, but not Autumn Rain. But her last name was River.
Yeah, I like that too. But anyway, I didn't mean to go on about this, but since you brought it up, I like your Star-Spangled shirt there. It looks like you're all ready for July 4th.
I am ready for July 4th. Look at that. July is right around the corner. Criterion sale. Everyone go buy your Criterions. 50% off.
Is that what you do on July 4th? You just go out and you buy all the Criterions? Specifically on that day, it's like, hey, I'm going to celebrate my independence by buying movies.
I go through the entire month of July. What are you talking about? July 4th?
Yeah, I was going to say, you make a lot of stops, I think.
Too many.
Senior Sticks put in a $2 super chat, and
did, yeah.
I was going to go ahead and read that, but then I forgot what show we were making. Oh, that's right, I have a chat moderator.
Yeah. Well, he can get us. He can get us started with one of the bits of news. I'm assuming this is on your list. You haven't shared your list with me, but this wasn't on your list.
And you guys can use super chats in that way to not only decide what we talk about, but the order. Because of course I was going to bring that up. But before we do that, let me just say, as always, thanks a lot for watching, guys. If you're watching live or after the fact, if you are currently watching, you can leave a super chat in any dollar amount during the show. It guarantees that we will chat about your topic. But you don't have to do that. You can also leave a regular comment. We also appreciate you just popping in and hanging out with us, of course. And let's go ahead and just get into the news, DJ. But yeah, why don't you read that, and then we can springboard from there.
All right, Senior Sticks, $2. I love that this is an official term now. I love it. Sonyverse, Kraven blood got a drop of lion's blood.
Yes, he has kind of a typical supervillain origin moment, I guess, where he's getting the power to like be connected to animals through lion's blood, I guess. Yeah.
Well, he is the king of animals, the lion. I guess it makes sense on that level. So he's like Aquaman. I haven't watched the trailer. He's like Aquaman, but with all animals or just safari animals? What?
I couldn't tell you. Yeah, there's a whole thing with spiders, but I can't tell if he's controlling them or talking with them or something. So, and of course, you have to add insult to injury. We're gonna have a Kraven the Hunter movie with spiders, but not Spider-Man. Let's just draw as much attention to that as humanly possible.
Well, we started with lobsters with venom, which are kind of spider-like, and now we're getting closer each film. Bats and spiders.
The big question mark that I have after that trailer is, after 4 of these things now, have the producers just embraced how completely preposterous and like out to lunch these movies are, and they're doing it on purpose, or are they that not self-aware? Like, do they know that they're making movies that look like they're from like 2009 or even, I don't know, like 2005, 2006? Because this movie is just, from the trailer anyway, Morbius rated R. Like, that's all it is. It's just Morbius again, and all the way down to the lead actor. Like, he looks like he's giving almost the exact same performance that Morbius was giving. The only thing I'll give them is, at least they're selling it on this guy is a bad guy, and they're using the word villain in the trailer. They're making a really big deal out of, like, this is a villain story. It's not just an anti-hero. And I'm sure at the end of the day it'll still be the anti-hero thing, but like, he's a straight up ruthless killer, and the story of it seems to be his father. I'm not thinking of actor names right now. Help me out.
Russell Crowe.
Yeah, thanks. Jarrell Man of Steel. Russell Crowe. Once again, a ridiculous, completely unconvincing Russian accent he's giving, but he is raising his kid initially to not be a weakling. Everything about this is very, very typical. So he has this really stupid line. I'm so tired of these kind of platitudes in these movies. He has this line where he's like, "Power is about strength." Like, how do you even read that with a straight face? How do you say that line with a straight face? He's like, "You can't let people see you as weak." I want to try to do the crappy Russian accent he's doing, but I don't think it's about as weird as his Greek accent, where it's like, I don't know where you came up with this accent. No, it's not. Nothing is as weird as his Greek accent. I'll take that back. But anyway, he did you know about that from Thor? When he was Zeus, he gives the most bizarre Greek accent line delivery in that. But anyway, so the idea is his kid is too compassionate in the first place and hesitates in the face of danger, and so he gets attacked by a lion and gets superpowers. And then he grows up, and he's been pushed so hard by his father, conditioned to be ruthless and to have strength, which gives him power. And so now he is a like really violent, horrible killer, and is kind of described as a psychopath and kind of a nut job, and he just embraces that about himself. And so, like, that's not Kraven the Hunter, but at least they're making him a bad guy. But he's just going to be a bad guy fighting other bad guys because we've got the Rhino.
Interesting. Mutali says he's just killing mercenaries. So yeah, I guess he's still
That's true. I mean, he's not killing any good people, but he's it's an anti-hero thing in that way. But I'm just saying they are selling it on. They're using the word villain. They're selling it on that.
But will we go 4 for 4 and he has to fight an evil Kraven at the end?
I'm gonna double down on probably, because they're making a big deal out of him versus Russell Crowe, and Russell Crowe raised him as a hunter. So yes, like.
That's the only thing.
Except it would just be like it would just be your mentor, right? Like, I bet he also puts a big fluffy coat on at the end, right? Like, but yeah, it doesn't really resemble the Kraven Hunter I've ever seen in anything, and it's like CW Pretty Boy Kraven the Hunter, which is just what Morbius was.
Wow. Yeah.
You're
not getting me excited.
Is Kraven a lethal protector? Yeah. I mean, they're probably playing him that way, just like with everything else. It's almost like, and that's where I get off saying they just don't seem self-aware about what has Well, and actually, I don't know what has given them the successes they've had. I don't know why the Venom movies have done any money at all, but or at least anything like as well as they've done. But like, I was gonna say, I don't think they get why their successful movies have been successful and their failures have been failures. I mean, one is not a pattern, but like, Morbius was a massive bomb, and I don't know that the second Venom movie made anything like as much as the first one, but I think it performed. I think it did okay. But none of them were like critically real well received.
Yeah, and it's interesting because like if they were to go full schlock, like in that full schlock direction, that would be a take. I mean, that would be, we've never really got that. I mean, like a couple Ghost Rider movies, especially the second one.
Yeah. No, I think that movie
never done the schlock.
That movie knew just what it was, and this does seem real schlocky, but I can't tell if it knows it. It's in that Gotham department, right? Where like I cannot tell if it knows what it is, and that just makes the whole thing murky and confusing and kind of unsettling, really.
Will the term "it's Kraven time" become as big of a thing as Morbin time? Because it actually makes more sense. It actually fits. Morbin. What the heck is Morbin?
Well, just because, it sounds like morphin. I don't like even talking about this because it's. I wish I could get my hands on whoever started that meme. Because that's all that comes up with these things now, and it's. I think when that started, people were confused and thought it was actual marketing, but it's just I can't even see grassroots. It was just somebody making fun of that movie and saying that in like a fake poster or on Reddit or somewhere. I don't know where that came up, and then people latched onto it, and I just think it's kind of like sad, or at least weird and hilarious, the world that we live in now, where somebody can do that and it gets and people latch onto it so hard that a studio decides that the movie is more popular than it is because of that and re-releases it in the theater. Like, because some idiot sit on their phone wrote, "Hee, it's Morbin time," it wound up back in the movie theater. That's insane. You can't make up the world we live in. You just can't even make it up.
Vitale puts in a super chat. Crow sounds more like Kraven than Johnson does.
Yeah, that is true. I forgot about this. So we're gonna need a couple of these. There we go. Yeah, 2 super chats. Got to get out the gong here. It's gong time.
So is he not doing a Russian accent at all? Is he
no.
Scarlett Johanssoning it?
That's exactly what he's doing. Yeah. Yeah.
But is he doing an American accent? Because he doesn't even.
Yeah.
He's not even American. Why didn't he just do a British accent?
He's just doing an American accent. Because he's got to be. It's like Morbius is a formula now. We have to just do that.
Just speak like, if you're not going to do Russian, just talk. Let the man talk in his own accent. That's so strange.
A quick plug for a show we're doing tomorrow night. We're doing a commentary for the Superhero Rewind Commentary Project on Punisher Warzone, and because we just lost that actor a couple weeks ago, and Ray Stevenson, and that, or maybe it's been a month now, I forget, but that's why we wanted to go ahead and front load that and get it knocked out. But anyway, I watched that for the first time today in a lot of years. I guess the last time I saw it was with Eric when we did the blind commentaries, but I mean, I don't remember that watch really.
There's another schlocky one.
But yeah, it is schlocky, and it knows it's schlocky, and that immediately makes it better than the Sony things. But I bring that up to say that's a big point I'm going to have tomorrow night with that movie, is there's a lot of just really bad accents, and some of it is intentional, and some of it is like an actor that they're like, well, this character's not from Britain, so he's got to try to fake an American accent. And I'm like, okay, he does a bad enough American accent that it's the guy who marries the actor is the guy who plays the character that marries Moira Queen when Oliver Queen is on the island in the first season of Arrow, and he's a fine actor, but he cannot begin to fake an American accent. And I'm like, you either let him do his own accent or you cast someone else, right?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they were going for that Dick Tracy kind of over-the-top cartoony villains thing.
They were with the villains, but this guy is he's just a cop. He's just a guy. And he's not even doing a New York accent. He's just trying to not do an English accent. It's embarrassing.
Wow.
Anyway, I digress. I don't know why I brought that up. You just reminded me of it. But yeah, what was his super chat about?
Just how Crow is at least trying a
No,
Russian
that's absolutely
accent.
true. As far as the stupid Morbentine thing goes, I think the answer to that question is yes, that will continue to come up as a joke, if not catch on as well as that did, because the top comment on the trailer on YouTube is somebody making that joke, and it's got like 1,000 thumbs ups. And like the first thing you see is oh, I can't wait until the pivotal moment where he says it's Kraven in time, and I'm like, okay, all right. Hilarious.
Okay. Wow. Yeah. So Aaron Taylor Johnson's picking up comic book roles. He's going to be catching up to Chris Evans pretty soon.
What else has he done? What am I not remembering?
He was Quicksilver. He was Kick-Ass.
Oh, is that who that is?
Yeah. Aaron Taylor Johnson.
It didn't even occur, because I always forget that guy's name. It didn't even occur to me that's the same guy. Well, he's disappearing in this role to me, I guess.
Well, there you go. Maybe he's doing a better job.
That's kind of sad that he's fallen to where he's fallen, though. Having to do that, and nothing against him, because I have liked him and stuff. And I think he was. I mean, I think he was great as Kick-Ass.
Yeah, he's changed a lot since then.
And I mean, and he's definitely bulked up.
He's the most generic thing ever in the Godzilla 2014 movie.
That's true. I always forget he's in that.
I don't know how much of that is his fault and how much of it he's just like, I'm the guy running around trying to fix things while my wife, like, I don't even know what he's supposed to be doing in that. Why is he running around? Like, I don't know. I don't even remember what it is.
I always forget what happens in that. But like, same thing with Quicksilver, where it's not his fault, but he doesn't get a lot to do. He's kind of just there to die.
Yeah, it's a bummer that he didn't get to carry on, because she became one of the most interesting characters after that, and he just had one sweet moment with Hawkeye, I think.
Yep. Well, yes, because that's when he's like, I've just got a bow and arrow, and none of this makes any sense. Or is he even talking to him right then? Who's he talking to?
No, he's talking to Wanda there. But
okay.
But they have the thing where he's like, you didn't see that coming? Which
that's right.
Was never a good line. I always thought that was super weird.
Sometimes it's weird when characters remember like really benign things another character says in a movie, but then they bring it back later. Where like it just feels like the writing really intruding on the movie.
Yeah,
like, Rhino remembers that line, but if you were in the moment, you wouldn't remember the guy said that. It's just a normal thing somebody would say.
Yeah, that definitely happens a lot. I feel like that's a Whedon thing a little bit.
Why don't we hit the other couple super chats we have, and then I'll go to another news story.
All right, let's do it. Let me see. TH1, $5. What is your thoughts on DJ Xavier on Spotify? I like it so far. Do you want to know why they call me the Rhino? Now, great show tonight, guys.
Yeah, I would imagine it's because you have like gray rhino skin that's starting to come up your body. Like, I mean, maybe that'll be cooler in the movie, but he's like, you want to know? That? Yeah. At the end of the trailer, they're teasing the Rhino. They don't show him to you yet. They just show his like silvery skin starting to encroach up on his arm. And he's like, do you want to know why? And he has not exactly that same Rhino accent, but it's still kind of the Russian thing. It's like, you want to know why they call me the Rhino?
Oh, it's a crime that it's not Paul Giamatti.
I wish it was. Yeah.
Wait, so they're still not doing a guy in a suit. He's like a genetically altered Rhino?
That's what it looks like. Yeah.
Okay.
Is that he's probably gonna well, you know what's really funny about that? If it's what it looks like it is, it means that he morphs into the Rhino. So it will be morphin' time for that guy.
See, that's what the Rhino should have been in the Amazing Spider-Man universe, because the whole thing's about animal genetic mutation, and then for some reason they go with a giant tank.
He's just got a mech suit, yeah.
They can't. Sony, get your stuff straight, man.
And Rhino is supposed to be a guy that can't get himself out of a suit, but of course he's going to be able to transform back and forth.
Well, maybe it's like the Thing. Maybe he can't transform back. Maybe he gets stuck.
No, I get the sense that he's having like a big reveal there where he's been like a human guy and he's like, you want to know why they call me the Rhino? Because it's morphin' time! And then he turns into the Rhino, yeah.
Wow, that's great. I can't
Really
wait.
looks like that's probably what they're doing with them. And then I can't help but flash back to, like, you know, do you know how I got these scars, or do you know what happens to a toad when it gets struck by lightning?
You know what
It's
happens
Morphin'
to
time!
You know what happens to a rhino?
You know what happens to the Rhino?
Interesting. I hope they don't just go like too realistic and make him like Killer Croc in Suicide Squad, where he's literally just like have rhino skin, but he's like a normal sized human.
I love the idea that your biggest fear for a Sony Spider-Man anti-hero movie is it's too realistic.
Yeah, well, that's what I get. That's the sense I get from everything you're saying about this Kraven movie.
You know, God, it sounds like a freaking documentary.
Yeah, it's a nature doc with Russell Crowe narrating.
Dude, I would love that for a Kraven movie. If it was Kraven making a documentary.
Yes, well, that's what I wanted.
Where he's hunting? That'd be so cool.
I wanted the ultimate version where he's just going around.
Oh, yes.
Filming Man vs. Wild. Oh, that
yeah, where he's just got like a sensational TV show. Yeah. Oh, that's great.
That would have fit more in the Venom tone. Because then they're all TV guys. Well, I guess Morbius is not a TV guy, but...
Tom also just put in a quick $2 super chat and said Google wouldn't let me say Spotify, and I don't really understand why, but okay. But also the other part of his question, I don't know what DJ Xavier is.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess he's an artist or a podcaster or something.
Oh, so he's saying in his super chat he wasn't allowed to write Spotify? Well, but then he did, so I guess it wasn't that.
Did right?
Yeah. Google itself wouldn't let you write. Okay. Anyway, I don't understand that, and I don't know what DJ Xavier is, but is that a thing I need to look up? Like, I've never heard of that.
I can do some research while you answer the next question.
I really appreciate that. Should we do that, or should we go to an article first, though? Because we've only done one so far, and we're almost half an hour into the show.
Yeah, I'm trying to see. I have one more.
John Ty's got a super chat that we're going to probably want to spend a little bit of time on that is not news related at all.
Yeah, I'll save that one. The other two are about Kraven, if you want to go through those.
Yes, do those then, too. Sorry, I didn't see those yet.
All right. Mutale Crow has played Hercules, Clark, and Kraven's dad.
Clark?
I think he means Gerard. Oh, Clark and Kraven's dad.
Oh, I see. Clark and Kraven's dad. I was like, when did he play Clark?
The lack of the Oxford comma is always... That's why I prefer the Oxford comma, because situations like this, see? You can't always omit it. But yeah.
No, you're making a great case for that. I would like to see somebody cut an album called The Lack of the Oxford Comma.
Was he Hercules? I thought he was Zeus.
He was Zeus. Oh, he means Hercules' dad.
Oh, see? We're having all kinds of commas.
Yeah.
Hercules, Clark, and Kraven's dad.
This is punctuation complication.
Punctuation.
Which also sounds like a good album name. Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like a.
But yeah, he's just playing.
He's playing all the superhero dads
of superheroes or anti-heroes that rip off parts of people's faces with their teeth.
This should be,
because that happens. That is. I do appreciate that it was a Red Band trailer, so you get a sense of just how violent it is, and I think that they're intelligently in its way anyway. It's intelligent and it's not. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, DJ. No. Suddenly it got me back to the trailer. It's intelligent in that it's saying, oh look, we're finally willing to go to the hard R place with some of these characters. What makes it feel less intelligent is just when you look back and you go, how come Venom wasn't like that? How come, especially Morbius wasn't like that?
I don't know what they were going for with Morbius.
You were PG-13 for your vampire movie, but your Hunter movie has to be rated R when you could see that maybe without that level of violence? Like, why does this have to be the one? We did talk about that when it was announced, because I put in the title, like, little late for rated R there. So
yeah, was Let There Be Carnage rated R?
No, it wasn't.
With the serial killer with the symbiote running around?
Yeah. It would be really funny if eventually they actually attempted to put all of these guys on a team together.
And called them the Lethal Protectors?
Yeah. Like, I'm pretty sure Carnage died in that, so I guess you can't do it with Carnage, but I don't remember what happened in that movie because it sucks. But
you hated it so much.
I did. So much. What's the other Morbius-related comment? See, I knew there was no chance I was going to actually rapid fire through this.
Well, people like Kraven. It's still Kraven time.
I think more accurately, people want to laugh about Kraven.
I would like to do that video with you at some point, though, is like rank or just talk about all of the actors who have been in the most superhero movies, or like the best superhero dad, which is apparently Russell Crowe at this point, the best comic book father.
I don't think he's the best one. I think he's just done the most of them. Yeah.
Well, yeah, he's the most
dad. We should figure out. You're right, though. We should figure out the 10 or 15 actors that have done the most roles in superhero movies.
Yeah, like the most that appear in your superhero rewind master list that you have now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great idea. We should do that show.
But Senior Sticks wants to know,
yes.
Will you do stir-crazy Sonyverse anti-hero commentaries?
Stir-crazy? I mean, yes, I will do commentaries on those movies because they're superhero. Is that what he's asking? Is just if those are going to count?
I guess, yeah. Well, I guess. I mean, Sony's making them heroes, kind of, so.
Yeah. Well, and they're characters based on, you know, superhero comics. So I mean, I do the Punisher movies too, and he's not really a superhero.
All right. Well,
I don't actually know if we answered his question, but
that is all the super chats I have about Kraven. I'll save that John Tai one for a little bit later, but if you want to go to a new topic, we can.
Okay, John, we will hit that not too long from now. But first, I want to blow through, if at all possible, a couple of these stories real quick. This is from The Hollywood Reporter. The Flash box office flameout. David Zaslav's regime suffers first major miss. And I read that title and I went, I mean, kind of, sort of. And then I appreciate what it says next because, of course, that movie was cut before Zaslav got aboard and well before James Gunn and Peter Safran came on. But, of course, those guys did affect the cut that we ultimately got, particularly with the ending, which was reshot multiple times, and the one we finally got is lame and whatever. But that's how I feel about the whole movie, really. That's my review, is lame and whatever. By the way, we're doing the spoiler cast for that on Sunday. There's a part of me that didn't even really want to dignify that with more discussion, but because we talked for an hour non-spoiler in the first place, but Connor hasn't weighed in yet. He has things to say about that, and there's a lot of details that we'll break down that I'm sure people want to hear us talk about, and I am actually, unfortunately, going to go see it again just so that all those details come back to me, but I'm not looking forward to that. Can you tell I really didn't like that movie? Warner Brothers Discovery CEO could have easily distanced himself from the DC superhero tentpole, which opened to a woeful $55 million, but embraced the pick as if it were his own. And DJ, I think I read that Shazam 2 actually, was it Shazam 2 or Black Adam? One of those actually opened with $12 million more than The Flash. Like, actually beat that movie.
I don't know. There's no way it could be Shazam 2.
I'm gonna double check and find it, but like, whichever one of those it is, it's embarrassing. Like the film, which was embarrassing.
Yeah, it was bombing. A lot of things are bombing this summer. It's weird.
Well, I want to say it seems like the cream is kind of rising to the crop this year, where like the stuff that is really not worth your time is not doing great. And some of the things that, you know, you didn't know how it would go, if it's okay, it seems to be doing better at the box office, which is great if that's the case. You know? Hang on, I'm going to find this. I'm going to find it. Yeah, $12 million less than Black Adam. But not Shazam 2. I don't know what that opened to. I'd have to look at the numbers. But regarding this point, I think that's true of like everybody at Warner Brothers. Like James Gunn didn't have to embrace it so hard and talk about it like it was one of the best superhero movies ever made. You were hearing a lot of that from in-house, but also people like Stephen King and Tom Cruise talking about how great this movie is, and people are now, after it's come out, I mean, you can't make this up. It feels like we live in a Saturday Night Live sketch.
Yeah, how much of that would have been the case if they had just released it they didn't have to tout it up so much and get people's expectations so high?
No, their strategy was so baffling that the big wigs at the top of Warner Brothers that aren't even directly connected with DC were really confused as to why they were spending as much money as they were on the marketing. And they can't have thought that it was going to do all that much better than it's doing. Like, I don't know how anybody in-house looks at that movie and doesn't expect a big drop-off opening weekend. I don't know how they weren't, like, really concerned about it, and with as piecemeal thrown together as it is, with it being as obviously made over too many years with too many reshoots, hobbled together. All of that is obvious, and that's not even to mention all the plot holes and stuff that doesn't make sense, and the vulgar humor, and the just really awkward and embarrassing CG, and also dialogue in a lot of places. I think, as I always say, like, if you liked it, cool, more power to you, but do I buy that James Gunn thinks that this is one of the best superhero movies ever made? I'm still so befuddled by that statement, and I don't understand it. I've gone rounds with Austin about it, because Austin, and I don't mean to put him on the spot and speak for him because he's not here, or not let him defend himself, but he, and I've heard other people say this too, are like, well, he's, Gunn, having taken over the company now, he has to kind of toe the line, and he has to talk it up and be diplomatic about it. And I'm like, I get that to a degree, but he went so far with it. What did he think was going to happen? Like when it finally comes out, like, he could have said, I think it's good, I think you're going to like it. He kept saying one of the best superhero movies ever made. On Rosenbaum's podcast, he omitted superhero and said it's one of the best movies ever made. And, like, is that just being diplomatic, or
I don't think so.
Is there
I
a
think
part
that's
of him that actually really likes it? Because he's not doing that with any of these other movies, and like,
he's never done that. He's always been honest to a fault, almost.
Yeah. Well, but what I mean is, with the other movies that haven't come out yet, I mean, he hasn't been acting like Aquaman 2 is the greatest thing since sliced bread. He didn't talk about that with Shazam 2. He is talking about Blue Beetle like they might continue to use that character, but he hasn't really said anything about the quality of that movie that I've seen anywhere. Or if he hasn't acted like it's brilliant or anything. So it's either part of the whole company's strategy, and they convinced him to keep saying that, because and that would be consistent with the crazy amount of money they spent on Super Bowl ads and all of the and all of the trailers and things up to the advertising up until the movie came out. But if I were him, if that wasn't his idea to talk about it like that, and like you said, I mean, like he has not seemed in any other case to just toe the company line or say whatever he is told to say. Like, he doesn't have that attitude about things. He's come right out and said, and he did this on Rosenbaum's podcast too, didn't name names or anything, but like all the things that are wrong with superhero movies, both DC and Marvel, with the formulaic nature of them, and seeing the same thing over and over again, and not being character driven enough. And you can tell that he's talking about the previous DC regime as much as he's talking about MCU, maybe more so. And so it's either the one thing that they convinced him he had to keep saying, or he thought it was a good strategy, or he actually believes it. But the problem is, it's a bad look for him any direction you go, because when the movie doesn't perform and nobody goes to see it, and when it's and when it's not critically well received, it makes people worried about what his movie is the things he makes and the things he's overseeing are going to look like, because, well, if he likes that, what kind of movies is he making? And I keep hearing this from people. We'll be like, oh God, I'm so worried about Gunn now in a way I wasn't before, because he kept touting up the Flash movie, and I saw the Flash movie, and then to add insult to injury, the day it came out, he announced that he hired that director to make Batman Brave and the Bold, and there's a lot of people saying, oh God, like I don't trust it anymore, or I'm pretty sure it's going to be absolutely terrible, because why would Gunn hire that guy? And maybe it will turn out that his instincts are right on that, and that guy will direct the movie that Gunn wants to see, and he won't let him write it, and it'll be fine. But it just doesn't seem like a smart strategy to me to announce it the day of. And like, it's clear to me that he thought all this was going to go a different way. Right?
Yeah, well, yeah, it seems like he really thought it was great, and he was because that would have been a good strategy if everyone loved it. If everyone loves it, it's like, oh, this is awesome. This guy's gonna make Batman great. But it went a completely different way.
If he thinks it's mediocre to absolutely embarrassing, like I did, and he thinks he has to tout it up like that to get people to go see it, it's a bad strategy, because you know it's going to drop off real hard the second weekend. And again, because people are going to be comparing whatever he does to that, and they're going to be worried that that's what he's going to make. So yeah, I'm baffled by his strategy. I don't understand that. Does it make me more concerned? Somebody at the beginning of the show asked the question, like, do I trust him with DC? I trust, to a point, whatever he decides to make, because I think he's a really good storyteller, and I think even if his Superman isn't exactly what I want, he'll tell a good story. And I said months or maybe years ago at this point, before he even got the job, that the next thing I wanted to see him make was a Superman movie, and that is the job he got, because I wanted to see just how much he could, stretch his legs, and what kind of versatility he had as a director. So I am still really excited to see that, but what's he going to be like as a studio head? It's too early to tell, but this is very strange.
Yeah, that's all up in the air for me, because even if he is a good creative, that doesn't necessarily translate to good, businessman, like running the head of the whole thing. So I have no idea how he's gonna. He might, like, Joss Whedon and flame out and, like, get overwhelmed. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and I'm sure what people will come back at you with when you say that is, but most of what he's going to be doing is on the creative side, and Safran is doing a lot more of the business, but it is still a business job to pick the people that make those movies.
Yeah, it's still a different role. I'm not saying he's going to be like a guy in a suit. He's still going to be a creative guy, but it's just what Kevin Feige does is very different than, what Sam Raimi does.
Yeah, you're right, because Feige is still involved in the creative side in the way that Gunn will be, just not to the extent Gunn will be, because he's also making movies, and he's like the architect of a universe in a different way than Feige, because I don't think Feige has these like big plans for stories he wants to see told as much as at least not initially. Like, as they're on their way, he's like, okay, I guess we'll lean more into the Thanos thing and Infinity and all of that. But, like, I can't really tell you if Feige at the beginning is going, eventually we're going to get to this big Thanos thing. Like, we start seeding it somewhat early, but how big was it ever supposed to be from the beginning, all of that. And you get the sense that Gunn is an architect of an overarching story as much as a universe. At least that's the way he's talking about it, and I do trust that part of it.
I mean, that's gutsy to do that. He's trying to show that, to give people confidence in that they have a plan. But with movies, man, like, I don't know why he announced that much stuff right out the gate. Like, that's what he wants to get to. There's no way of knowing if he's going to get to that stuff, Like, movies are so economically based. Like, if the first couple bomb, like, they're gonna change. Like, they're not gonna just be like, okay, we announced it, so we have to do all these now. Like, it seems like a mistake to announce.
And I hope the hell that doesn't happen, because then we're gonna be trapped in 2016 for the end, until the end of time, and until they just stop making superhero movies at Warner Brothers, I guess.
Yeah, because
Because that was all that happened after
story.
Man of Steel was just going back to the drawing board over and over again because the movies weren't performing the way they were expected to, both commercially and critically.
Yeah, because movies are expensive, and like, yeah, obviously I want him to get to do his vision, but like, you lose a couple $100 million on a couple movies in a row, like, you can't. Like, there's no, they'll just run out of money. Like, that's a lot. I don't know. That seems risky to call your shots that many shots that early.
You're absolutely right. I mean, you have to be able to. I don't know. There's a middle ground you got to find where you have to be able to, and maybe he's got backup plans among on top of backup plans. Like maybe he's playing 3D chess because you've got to be able to pivot. You've got to have a you got to have a plan where if things don't go the way you want them to, you can move in a different direction and kind of improvise your way out of it. Marvel is having to deal with a bunch of delays because of the writer's strike. Like, what if the writer's strike had happened while they were already 2 or 3 movies in? And, I think... Obviously, they're going to have to push things off, and the Batman 2 got pushed off and all of that. But I think it was probably fortuitous for James Gunn. I just had this thought that he didn't have his first movie in the can or was even shooting yet when the writer's strike happened. Like, that's really lucky. But what I'm saying is there's a lot of things you can't foresee. You can't know were going to happen.
Yeah, that would have been a huge bummer if, like, the first film out the gate had a bunch of delays and writing problems and, like, another Flash. Ugh.
Yeah, even if it was through no fault of their own, what if COVID happens in the middle of you just started making a rebooted DC universe?
Yeah. Obviously, this is not me wishing that fails. I hope it's great. I hope he gets to do exactly what he wants to do. It just seems risky. To get people so excited about.
I'm skeptical about some of it.
That's also my.
Don't get me wrong. I'm still overall very interested in and even in some ways excited about him running that show, but he's already making some choices that I'm questioning. But that doesn't mean that they're wrong. We just don't know yet. We'll just have to see. All I can do is call it as it's happening and scratch my monkey cranium and go, I wouldn't have done that, I don't think, but then I don't know what's going on over there, Like maybe he knows. Maybe he's got instincts about that director that's not that based on Flash, but then why did he say it was one of the best superhero movies ever made? That's the part of it I don't understand, because I'm sorry, it's just not.
And a couple of people like Plushy DX and Mutali in the chat are talking about how he's bringing in TV shows already from the beginning, which tanked the MCU. Like, that was a huge mistake for them.
That's true. But we're also always saying we'd like to see these companies, take more creative risks. So I mean, I don't want to be a hypocrite and say, oh, he's taking all these risks. It's what's he doing? He should play everything straight. That's not what I'm saying. But you gotta be smart with your risks, and we're not gonna know if they're smart until it's gonna be all quality based, right? Like if it's all great, fine, it will probably work out. Mm-hmm. But do you think, DJ, that they're already headed toward an oversaturation problem? Like, was the problem that he announced too much, or is the problem that they're making too much?
Yeah, well, I guess it's I don't like, and this is just me personally, I don't like knowing about things that I'm not going to see for like 6 years, like, or maybe even longer. It's just weird. I know that's the big thing. Everyone loves that. They go to Marvel conventions and they announce the whole next phase, but like, Marvel's got a track record. DC have canceled so many things. I don't know why you would want to announce things and be like, this time they're going to happen.
Yeah, I'm going to use a self-deprecating analogy. It's a mistake for DC to announce too much, even with a new guy taking over, because he's not done the job yet. Like, you still have to look at Warner's track record as much as his, right? But like, it's as much of a mistake as like when I announce things.
Stop
like
announcing things.
Stop announcing things. Do you remember when DCEU gave us a 10-year plan? No, and do you remember how early the Flash was on that list? And do you realize that we're on the 10th anniversary? And it finally came out, and it ends the DCEU with, in my mind, even less than a whimper. And then we also have a couple more movies tacked on right after that. But like we never got that Cyborg movie. We never got that Green Lantern movie. A lot of the movies that were in that slate turned out much differently than what they had to have been planning for them. There's 2 Suicide Squad movies. Like, there's even movies there's a Joker movie. There's even stuff that wasn't supposed to be in there. The Batman got rebooted in the middle of it.
Oh man, that is probably the most. I want to see that that diagrammed out like on a bulletin board. That's got to be like more red string than like a Riddler mystery. Ugh, that's a lot. It's a mess.
Real quick, I have a little bit of a pet peeve right now, and I'm just going to talk this out because I don't know if I'm right about it, like if this should irk me, but are we going to call every single new project in James Gunn's DCU a reboot? Because I keep seeing Batman Brave and the Bold described as a reboot, and I'm like, I mean, it is, but it's redundant. Like, why are we saying that? It's like, oh, they're rebooting Batman. They're rebooting the whole thing. Like, have people just not gotten the memo yet? Like, is that going to keep happening until they finally realize that the DCU is an honest-to-God, full-on start-over point?
Yeah, that's strange, right? Because rebooting there is no Batman series that's being rebooted.
Right, and they also have an ongoing one that is continuing now. So it's sort of like when we called the 2017 Power Rangers movie a reboot. It's like, well, the series is still going. It's not really a reboot. It's an alternate thing. Like, yeah. I guess it sort of is. But, like, do you call it, and specifically with Batman, do you call it a reboot when you have a franchise? Isn't it just another one? But then is what we're saying we're rebooting Affleck Batman? Yeah. But then we're rebooting everything, so we're making a Superman reboot, and we're making a Swamp Thing reboot, and like, yes, but I just think it's weird that we're talking about it like that.
Reboot has always been a term that people throw around that I think they throw around more than they should, especially when a lot of things are just kind of like, because people will call a reboot like something that's another adaptation of a book a reboot, which is basically which I think sounds dumb, but comic books is like a gray area, right? Because it's technically not. It's just another adaptation of Batman comics, but because we've only ever had one at a time, or one Spider-Man franchise at a time up until this point, now we have 2.
Yeah, absolutely. It's such a loaded term, right? It's like when we rebooted Spider-Man after Spider-Man 3, it kind of made sense that we were talking about it like that, because from the attitude of the studio was, we have to reboot this, we have to start over. So even if it's technically going back to the same source material and not really, because when you and I think reboot, we think you took a movie and but then it's like remake versus reboot. Like, I guess that is a reboot, but it's not a remake.
Rebooting a franchise, like you intend to start another franchise. But I've also heard people use reboot to like reboot a franchise, but it's continuing. Like it's not starting.
And they'll call that a soft reboot. And it's like we're getting into the weeds with this again, and we've talked about this before. But it's like, what is a soft reboot? Is a soft reboot? We brought back something 20 years later, and we're basically making the same movie again, but we're also, but it's also in the same continuity, like Jurassic World, right? Like Jurassic World feels like a remake of Jurassic Park, but it's not a reboot. It's in that continuity. It's just that we took the same kind of story points and did it again, and we've done this with myriad other things now. Or is a soft reboot when you like Star Trek 09, when you take a franchise that is pre-existing and you find a loophole so that you can change everything about the franchise or change everything about the universe, but it started from that universe. So you did some kind of like multiverse or time travel shenanigans in order to soft reboot out of it. Or do they both count? I guess those are both different kinds of soft reboots. But that sounds like such a specific term. You'd think there'd be a different term for each of those phenomena?
Yeah, the word reboot is meaningless because it means everything.
It is, yeah. Which is why I agree with Mike from Red Letter Media that that Matrix 4 should have been called the Matrix Reboot, or Matrix Rebooted,
Matrix rebooted.
Well, because that's a computer term. Like,
Yeah.
so it really fits with that world, and that whole thing was a satire about remakes and reboots and the decades later, just milking things for all they're worth and all of that. That would have been a more appropriate title and a cleverer title. But anyway, I digress. Okay, we've got 5 minutes until the break, so let's try to tackle a super chat or two, and then we'll come back and I'll throw some more news articles at you.
All right, let's go to the next super chat.
Thanks for being here, everybody, and thanks for the support with the super chats. Go ahead.
Yes, real quick. TH1 said that thing that he mentioned is a new AI that they added for your playlist.
Oh, I see.
To your For You playlist on Spotify.
Oh, okay.
Interesting. It's like a new feature. Okay. Why
Which
not?
is weird because I just assumed it had to have had something to do with X-Men. He was like, DJ Xavier, did you try that? And I'm like, you must be asking me that because it has something to do with X-Men. Oh, it doesn't? I wonder why it's called Xavier. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. I think, yeah, I was that's where I went immediately.
You know another pet peeve I have, DJ? When people call Charles Xavier Xavier, I can't have that.
Xavier.
You ever heard people say that?
I think so. I think I've heard people just say that name that way. I don't know if I've heard anyone refer to him.
In certain cases, I think that name actually is pronounced that way, but particularly with Xavier, it's called the X-Men.
You gotta hit the X. You gotta hit
the X.
Thomas Ledbetter, $5.
Yes, sir.
Hold on. I have your question. Oh no, here we go. I'll ask it. It's not related, but it's about 09, which we just talked about, so it's kind of
sure.
Related.
Okay.
Thomas Ledbetter, $5. Another Trek question: how would you make the premise of Cadet takes command of a starship permanently, like in 09, believable or less contrived?
Wow. So I always say you can make anything work. You just have to make it work. But I think the lengths you have to go to make me buy that Starfleet would just promote a cadet to captain right after that, just because he saved the universe or the galaxy or whatever. That is quite a pill to swallow. So like, I think the only way, and it would still read contrived, but maybe less so, is the only way I could buy that is if it was like during wartime. If it was like a field commission. So it's like going on from there, we're in the middle of a big conflict with, you name it, the Klingons, the Romulans, the Borg, whatever it is. Kirk saved everybody, but we're in the middle of a war, and so we're gonna leave him out there, and he's proven himself with command. As a good commander, we don't have enough good captains and ships in the fleet right now. We need all the help we can get. You have field commissions all the time during wartime in Star Trek and just in, I think, like military fiction in general. And you saw some of this during the Dominion War, where you'd have somebody that would get promoted very quickly, get a field commission. That's the only thing I can think of.
Cool.
Never thought about that before, but yeah, that's probably how I would do it. And I mean, I wouldn't want to do that because I don't want Star Trek to just be about war all the time. But and then the question would be, why does he have to be promoted to captain immediately? Like, the better idea is, well, don't do that. Have him go back to Starfleet. The end of that movie should have been, now he's got to go back and take classes like everybody else. But he's proven himself in these situations, and so he'll probably get to be captain way faster than he would have otherwise. But he should still have to go back and go through the motions and everything.
All right, you want to do one more?
Yes, sir.
All right, next one is from Mutale. Is part of you bothered by Gunn saying Muschietti was the only choice for Brave and the Bold when Raimi said he would love to make a Batman movie?
Well, why
is he the only?
And I don't want to sound irritating, because this is going to be my answer to all of these kinds of questions. I just don't feel like I know enough. Exactly what kind of movie are they making? So it is weird. I'm with you, DJ. It is weird to say only choice. I don't see that guy as having like such a specific discernible style that you, oh, that's a Muschietti movie, right? Like, I mean, I've only seen the It films in Flash, and I thought the It movies were competent, but I didn't feel like he was the only person that could have directed those. It didn't feel like I don't know. He's not like an auteur or anything, or even like Raimi, where he's just got like such a specific style. You can just like point that out. That's that guy, and he's kind of got some issues with his special effects feeling integrated, whether that's his fault or not. But he's got a track record of that now. With Raimi, the question is that because Gunn has something up his sleeve for Raimi? Like, is there maybe a project they're talking about that they haven't revealed yet? But that's maybe all I've got for that. Guys, we're going to go ahead and go on a break now, and we'll be back in about 4 minutes or so, and then we'll go into the second half of the Captain Logan show. I still have lots and lots of articles we can bring up. There's no way we'll talk about everything, but I want to hit some good news, too, because there's a couple of things that were just announced that I'm kind of excited about that I want to make sure and talk about, and we will answer more of your questions in just a few minutes. We'll be right back. And we're back, folks. It's time for the second half of the Captain Logan Show, and I'm going to get to some more news stories and more super chats. DJ, couple things that I am actually legitimately excited are happening that we just recently found out about. First of all, here is a release that maybe you sent me this. If not, you'll be excited about this if you didn't know about it, DJ. We are finally getting... And it's kind of nuts how long it took for this to finally happen. I didn't know if it ever would. But we are finally getting a complete box set of the 2003 Ninja Turtle show.
What?
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
It's really exciting.
So glad I didn't buy a bootleg like I was tempted to so many times.
This has not been buyable. And luckily, we've been able to watch it on Paramount Plus for quite a long time now. And I
three
like
of you.
that was, yeah, you know, if you want to get that service and hope for the best, especially if you're trying to use like a Fire Stick or something. But I'm just saying, at least it's been available in some way, but you'll finally be able to buy and collect it. They're calling it the Ultimate Collection. It contains all 155 episodes of the show, and it also has Turtles Forever in it, and it's only gonna be $60, which is a pretty nice release price.
That tells me that it's gonna be very bare bones, just a plastic case, and probably just DVD if it's only $60.
Probably so, but it's something. I mean, at least we're gonna get it. And the box art looks good. Hopefully there are some special features of any kind. There's a lot of really good ones for for 87. So I mean, there is precedent for special features on these things.
You know, it might be Blu-ray because I have this just standard release of the 87 show, and it was only like 25, so it might be Blu-ray because they just released.
It is not. It is DVD.
Okay.
It says on the side here. Do you see it on the side? It just says DVD.
Okay, $60 seems steep for a DVD because the Batman series was 5 seasons and it was Blu-ray and it was only $60. Anyway.
This is like 8 seasons.
Yeah. Well, well, it's 7, but nobody cares about the last 2.
No, I know, but I'm just saying, like, for sheer episode count, like, it seems fair. I'm just saying, at least it's not like 80 or 100.
Yeah, no, that's cool. No, that's exciting.
Look, I'm trying to announce good news, okay? We've got to spin it as hard as we can. No, I'm kidding.
No, that is great news. I'm very happy. That has been impossible to find. I feel bad for the people who've paid like $100 for those season 1 DVDs because those things were super rare.
Yeah. And I also think it's weird that people were buying those because you were never going to have it all uniform. I mean, unless you just really wanted those because that's the best part of the show and you weren't going to really bother with the rest of the show anyway. But, like, I don't know, for me with TV, I kind of want all the seasons to look uniform, and they stopped at some point. Like, they didn't have the... Because remember, they had the art, and they looked really cool, but they had the art on the spine that made a picture across.
Yeah, I remember those. And they also had, like, a season 1... Part 1, season 1, part 2, like just 2 discs, which I liked, but yeah, they stopped after season 2, so you couldn't get season 3 or 4.
They were never uniform with all of that.
Yeah,
now, I don't know if they've put 2012 all in one box yet. That is all buyable, but I don't know if there's one box that you can buy.
Yeah, I hate when they do that. They do that with Scooby-Doo sometimes too. With the 2012 show, they released it in like 3 parts per season, 3 or 4 parts. I hate when they do that. It's like 6 episodes per DVD. Yeah. Just put out the whole season. But maybe they'll do that one too after they do 2020.
No, that's stupid. But I'm in a place where I won't even buy a show season to season anymore because I know eventually there's going to be one box and it's going to be a discount price and it's going to. I mean, it's all, everything about it is more beneficial, right? Like it looks better on a shelf. It's one box.
Takes up less space for sure.
Yeah. So like even if I was bothering with very much a new track, I wouldn't buy it season to season. I'd wait till the whole thing was out. Like Strange New Worlds, they've dropped the first season. I'm not gonna buy that yet. I'm gonna wait till the whole thing's out.
Did you see that Picard box set?
Yes, I did.
It's like
it looks really pretty and also stupid.
Because it's all of anything with that character in it. It's all the Next Generation, it's all the movies, and it's all of 3 seasons of Picard.
Yeah, which really hikes the price up, you know? Like, if they put out a set, I'd be almost tempted if they put out a set that was just TNG in the movies, but it was all in red, because it's Picard. Like, that would look really cool on a shelf. But like, I don't want to pay extra because it's you know, because of that abomination of a TV show, and I also don't want to pay extra for all the, you know, the extra goodies in that set too. I'm trying to remember what else they put in there. There's some, you know, silly knickknacks and things that look cool, but I didn't see a price on that. But I don't really want to know because I'm sure it's insane. Like I'm sure that set's like $700 or something.
Yeah, I saw an article about it. I didn't see a price yet either, but
yeah,
hopefully no one buys it and you'll get it on clearance.
Real quick, while I'm on Star Trek, let me say for folks that are keeping up with that and wondering if I am, I have seen the first episode of the new season for Strange New Worlds. I think the second episode has dropped, but I haven't watched it yet. And I liked it fine. It's of the same quality of the first season, and I am actually kind of excited about what they're setting up at the end of that episode. Not to reveal anything, but they're going to kind of a logical place that I kind of expected they would go, but it was exciting nevertheless, and kind of a conflict that they're building up to. And then I am now 3 episodes into the 3rd season of Picard, and I still don't know what anybody is talking about. It is awful, and I will go on record to say I still think it's awful, and I think the writing is about as bad as it's ever been. And is it slightly better than last season? Yeah, because it's not as convoluted, but it's still as cynical and dark for no reason, and none of those characters feel like those characters, and I hate everyone, pretty much. And they're even, for the most part, Worf had a way better introduction than I expected him to, and there are a couple of actors that are super elevating the material, but the material is terrible. Like Frakes is refusing to allow that show to change what that character is, even while he's saying dialogue I don't buy that character's saying. Like, it's amazing the kind of juxtaposition between the performance he's giving and the stuff coming out of his mouth. It's crazy. And then they'll bring up characters, DJ, that we haven't even seen yet, and are changing what those characters are off screen. There's a line about how Geordie LaForge doesn't make friends easily. What are you talking about? That's LeVar Burton. He's like the most friendly guy ever. Are they conflating that with his inability to get chicks? Because those are different things. Anyway, yeah, it's rough, and I don't want to watch any more of it, but I'm going to. I will finish it, but I don't want to. Ugh, it's pissing me off. Anyway, hey, here's some good news though. And look, I know there's folks that like that, and more power to you. I don't get it. I think it's about as bad as it had been. The trailer for the Babylon 5 animated movie just came out recently. It's called The Road Home, and it looks great. It is, of course, written by J. Michael Straczynski. As much of the cast as could come back has come back. There's kind of a curse with that show where a lot of actors have passed away, but they have pretty good sound-alikes for everybody that we're able to hear on in that trailer. Some kind of surprise characters returning that you wouldn't necessarily expect for the 5 of us that watched Babylon 5, that know that show. And by the way, my history with that show, I did not grow up with it. I didn't finally start watching it until way later, just a few years ago, and I have never finished it. I'm to close to the end of season 4, so I've watched a lot of the major stuff. I've gotten through Shadow War and all of that, of which the movie is dealing with too. But I will finally finish that before I watch this movie, certainly, and I'll try to watch the other reunion movies and stuff. But anyway, I just want to mention this for anybody that cares. The animation looks pretty cool. It is very kind of standard Warner's direct-to-video stuff. DJ, it reminds me a lot of the way they brought 60s Batman back, and I hope they continue to make movies in that style. It's the only way to credibly use characters that with actors that have passed away, because you'd have to recast everybody. It would be really kind of confusing, and I would much prefer this over the reboot that has been bandied about, that was supposed to be on Warner's, or pardon me, on the CW, but has been kind of put on ice. I don't know if that's ever going to happen now, but I would much rather this. I'd much rather them just continue that series in animation, because there's no reason to reboot it. It's such a good show in the first place. I mean, The nice thing about animation is you have consistent special effects, because the special effects in Babylon 5 are god-awful. Like, it looks really, really bad. So it's going to be nice to watch a Babylon 5 thing where every time they cut to space, I'm not completely taken out of the fiction. So, like, that'll be good. But anyway, I'm excited about it. The only thing that I'm feeling... I'm sorry. What's up, DJ?
No, I was just going to say, animation is the way to go, because across the Spider-Verse, the most amazing and visually stunning superhero movie of the whole year, 100 million. That's the budget.
Yeah.
And all these other superhero movies that look horrible have like $250 million budgets, and just do it in animation, man. It looks better. It looks great. Well, and it's so much cheaper.
You got Japan making all of these sci-fi epics in anime form, and here we are over here going, well, we can't make too many of these big budget science fiction things because it costs too much to build sets and stuff. It's like, if we can just catch everybody up and make everybody more okay with animation, we can tell all kinds of cool stories, and you can put anything you want to on the screen. I don't find myself feeling kind of bummed out or like it's lame that this is in animation instead of live action any more than I did with 60s Batman, because there's just so much stuff that you couldn't do in live action. As long as it's authentic enough to what that was, you know, like at the point where it gets kind of kidified, you'll, in this country especially, you'll find yourself going, well, if only they made it in live action, they would have taken it seriously. But now that we're actually making more stuff that has that credibility behind it, yeah, do everything in animation. I don't care.
Yeah, but it's still that. I mean, Spider-Verse has got jokes, and it's kind of a parody type kind of thing. It walks that line. So does Batman 66. Like, we still can't just make an honest to God serious animated movie and put
this
it in
will be. No one will watch it, but this will be though. I can and it's JMS. Like, he's not gonna dumb it down and kidify it because it's in animation. I'm sure this is a thing that he would have loved to have done in live action if he could have, and it's just not possible. But no, you're right. I mean, Babylon 5 should be more mainstream than it is, but it's not. What are you gonna do? But you know, it's wonderful. I think Babylon 5 at its heights especially is better written than Star Trek ever was. I've said this before, but like I will continue to go on record and say that Babylon 5 is like the best Star Trek show that's not Star Trek.
Yeah.
And it's not fair to say that because it has different sensibilities than Star Trek, certainly, but it's about a lot of the same things. And ultimately, at the end of the day, I think it is hopeful. It's just more, it's just more down to earth and realistic about it, which DS9 gets closer to. But anyway, I digress. But that's happening for the few people that will care about that. And like I said, it looks cool. The only reservation I have about it is that it's a like time travel story where Sheridan is, I think it's Sheridan, is going through a bunch of different timelines, and that seems like the real standard thing to go to for a reunion sci-fi thing. We did the same thing when we brought Stargate back on the Sci-Fi Channel when they had, I think it was maybe Continuum did that. There are a couple of those movies, and I can't remember which one it is, but I think it's Continuum, where it's like we got to go back and play our greatest hits. But under JMS's pin, I'm sure he will ultimately validate that, and I won't be complaining about it once it's out, hopefully. But that's my only reservation with it. Now I have to apologize for talking about Star Trek and Babylon 5.
Do you want to jump to a super chat or go back to some more news?
Yes, let's go to a super chat because nobody is even talking in the comments right now.
All right, let's spark some conversation here. I'm gonna go.
I say that. No, we are getting some comments and even another super chat. It's just for some reason it's taking my. Is all this coming at once, or is my thing just catching up? It's just catching up.
Yeah, I think it was just catching up.
Weird. I jumped over and I saw 3 comments past the break, and I was like, "Oh God, nobody cares about what I'm talking about."
No, they're there.
Isn't that hilarious? It's so slow. It's weird. I wish you could see it. It's bizarre. Anyway,
it's weird that your chat would be slow, but our connection is fine.
Yeah, that's fine. The chat, it's like if I don't actually have the window sitting in front of me, because I had to click back over on it. Anyway, apologies. Give us a super chat.
All right, I'll go back to the one that I skipped. That was John Ties, $10 super chat.
Yeah.
Is using a political agenda to criticize entertainment a good way to critique entertainment? Like killing a female character for the male character's development is sexist for some. Ooh.
Yeah, kind of a loaded question. I hate to always answer these with the same response, but like, I have to go case by case. Like you have to give me just a situation, and I'll tell you whether I think it's going too far with that. Generally speaking, of course, I don't want my fiction to ever be too agenda driven, and so what I mean is, at the point where you have to make people not act like people, or you're like vilifying a group, or making someone of a particular persuasion or whatever less relevant in order to tout up somebody else. At the very least, I'm taken out of the fiction and it just looks like propaganda, and I'm not buying. I'm not buying the benign lie. You know what I mean? It doesn't seem like a benign lie anymore, which is what good fiction is. Now, does that mean that you can't have any sort of a political point with your fiction, or you can't have any moral to the story or anything like that, where it all has to be completely 100% escapist? No, of course not. I'm not saying that. But you've got to be able to do both at the same time and be sophisticated in it, where it doesn't seem like you have to cheat and emotionally manipulate an audience, and that's what drives me nuts. So yeah, I'm not naming any names or anything of properties, but when I see a movie or a TV show that as you say has to like take a, because I think I might know what he's talking about, but I don't know for sure if that's the example. And I'm not going to even mention what I'm thinking of yet because it hasn't come out yet. But so I don't know for sure what's actually in that. But I think I might know what he's talking about. I'm being cryptic right now. Anyway, but if you have a movie or a TV show or a book or something where you have a like long running beloved male character, and we go there to see that character do things. They're supposed to be the protagonist, and then you have to get rid of them in some way to tout up some new character because you're making a big deal out of how much more progressive it is, or like, well, you know, we have a woman, or we have someone of a particular minority or something that we want to make a big deal out of. That's not fair to the audience. Just make a story about that kind of character. And obviously the argument on the other side is, but this is a property that's already popular, so you can get people to go and look at it. You can get butts in the seats. It's like, yeah, but if they're not going to be satisfied, what is the point? You're just gonna piss everybody off. It is difficult. It is more difficult to get people excited about new IP in general, but we have to take more risks with that. We have to start getting more original with things, and like the answer to the diversity thing is absolutely not turn everything that exists already into something different. It's just write as much good new stuff as possible and hope that some things get popular and rise to the top. And it should be more about hiring as many different kinds of people as possible than it should be about a quota of making sure that, and some people won't agree with this, but this is how I feel about it, that it should be a quota of make sure we have this many women as our protagonists, make sure we have this many black people as our protagonists. No, just hire a lot of really good, base it on merit, hire a lot of really good writers and directors and artists and whatever it is, of whatever persuasion they are, give them free rein once you trust them, and then let them write from their own personal experiences, and then all of that's gonna happen.
Yeah. That's
what I think. I want to thank everybody that just unsubscribed for being here, but that's how I feel about it.
Well, I mean, that's what happens. Like, you write from your own experience. Like Jordan Peele. You heard backlash for Jordan Peele when he was asked why he doesn't write white protagonists, and he's like, "Well, I've seen that movie. I want to make my movies. I want to write from my experience." And like, people are like, "Oh no, you can't. You gotta service everyone. Like, no, he doesn't. He can write from his own experience, and that's fine. Like,
but at the same time, I always hesitate getting into this arena because I want to have a good time here, and I don't want to make it all about politics and stuff. But I don't feel like I, as a writer, should be pigeonholed because I'm a white guy into writing a bunch of different things too far away from what I am, because just because we need more of those things out there. Like, just like, make sure that really talented people that don't look or sound like me are also getting work, right? I don't, in my own fiction, I would certainly and have before write from a female perspective, but I always worry that it's not going to be totally credible. Why? Because I haven't had that experience. But like, so I am not necessarily going to write a bunch of female protagonists or a bunch of non-white protagonists, not because I need everything to look like me, but because I've not had that experience. And I've had people argue with me before and say, well, first of all, use your imagination. Well, yeah, but that doesn't mean it's going to be credible. You know what I mean? That doesn't mean that you'll buy it. Well, then just do a lot of research. Yeah, sure. And I can do that, but I also don't think that there's anything wrong with writing from your own experience also. So like, what so I guess the question is, like, do I, as a writer, and obviously, I'm not super published, and I'm mostly doing this right now, so like, I don't even have a big audience, if I was going to write fiction right now.
Could you write your superhero rewinds from a black man's perspective, please?
I feel like that might be offensive to someone. I mean, like, yeah, I could, but it's probably going to come off somewhat stereotypical, you know what I mean? Because that's the other thing, too, is, well, I guess, let me not get ahead of myself. What I was going to say is, like, what responsibility do I have to do that as a writer? I don't think I have any responsibility. I think my responsibility is to the art, to talk about what's near and dear to me. And if everybody does that, then all of those persuasions come out. Now, does that mean that if a black guy wants to write all of his protagonists as white people or Asian people or Hispanic people, whatever, should he not be allowed to do that? No, of course not. He should be able to do whatever he wants to, is the point I'm making.
Yeah.
And then, if it doesn't come off credible, then now we're just workshopping. You know what I mean? Nobody should be offended by that, unless intent matters. Like, unless the person is just like so ignorant that it comes off like super stereotypical. But even then, I don't know that we should be like super offended and like throw our arms in the air. Give people the benefit of the doubt. Like, if he's doing it on purpose, it's one thing. But if he just doesn't know any better, you go, well, maybe you should spend some more time with the kinds of people that you're writing about and do a little bit more research. And
yeah. Thank you, John Ty, for the super chat. This is from MP, which is not a name I recognize on this show. Have you noticed that on other streams? M.M.
Sorry,
period.
I got distracted because Daniverse was calling me insane, which is probably true. I'm looking for the comment here.
Maybe he's just catching up from when you said you're having 6 kids.
I wanna take you for a ride.
It's even better when I can't hear the music, so I just see you dancing like a fool.
Oh, you can't? Oh no! Oh, that's right, because you had to hang up on me before the show started.
Yeah, I didn't know.
Well, you said it was a new commenter, so I had to play the song.
Yeah, MP. He has a $4.99 super chat.
We are off the rails here.
It was really funny.
Okay, let's hear it.
He says, the Bat family characters are very complex, layered, and nuanced. Whoever writes that T-Bat-B really needs to be immersed in the source material.
Yeah.
What is T-Bat-B? The Brave and the Bold.
He's talking about the Brave and the Bold, yeah.
That's so awesome that the Brave and the Bold has Bat in the middle of it. I've never seen that written out as an acronym before.
Yeah. No, that was kind of odd as an acronym, but yes, that's what he's talking about. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what to say except I absolutely agree with you.
Yeah, because that's really going to be about the family dynamics.
Well, and I'm going to assume that that's going to be a Bat family that, exists already and has been around for a while, and that there'll be some pre-existing dynamics. And so to try to make all of that up from scratch, like I think there are a lot of stories you can tell with superhero characters where you can kind of start with just the basics and go your own way, where you don't necessarily have to be an expert. But that seems like just even on the initial premise of it, a thing that you would need to kind of do your homework and know your stuff. And I don't mean to say that you necessarily have to have read absolutely everything, but probably a run. Like if somebody comes in with that movie and all they know is Morrison, but they know Morrison really well, okay. Like I'm not going to be like, oh, how come you didn't read the Brave and the Bold comics from the 70s? Because you could base it on Morrison's run and say like this is what we're adapting.
And I haven't read this stuff, but isn't the whole point of Damian that it's like you kind of have to know about his history with the other Robins so you can see how he reacts with Damian? Are we just taking it for granted that everyone knows Robin so well, like we did with Spider-Man's origin? We don't tell that anymore because everybody knows it, but we haven't had a Robin on screen in 16 years.
No, and we've never had a Robin very true to the source material. I mean, when Batman Forever did it, he was already an adult.
Yeah.
So
that one
I'm with you. How much recapping are we doing? How much catch up do we have to do?
Yeah, are we going to be doing flashbacks of other Robins?
Can you imagine going into that movie and the prerequisites and the Venn diagrams you got to be able to draw if they don't give you anything? Where it's like, so you're supposed to, going into this movie, already know that Dick Grayson was the first Robin and that Jason Todd replaced him and he got too violent and was practically killing people, or maybe was killing people, and then ultimately got beat to death by the Joker with a crowbar. And then you had... And I mean, like, how extensive does it go? How how close to source material is it? At what point we also had Spoiler in a Robin costume for about 5 minutes, but that's not going to be relevant to the story, so it might just get a passing mention. And then you've got Damian Wayne, who is Batman's son, but was not conceived entirely naturally. And like, how are we gonna deal with all of that? But at the same time, I don't want it to be simplified to the point where Damian is the first Robin.
Yeah.
So I do need some of that backstory.
Because what's the point of it being? Yeah, that seems weird.
I have a prediction, and I'm wrong all the time. So
I love that's your new catchphrase, by the way.
But it's true. This probably won't actually be the case. But the thing I keep thinking, DJ, is Red Hood will be in that movie.
Ooh.
I think you'll have a Bat family with Red Hood there, and they'll have to deal with all
and
of
Nightwing?
that stuff. Yeah, a Nightwing and a Red Hood, and Damian is the current Robin. Or if Red Hood's not in it, he will be mentioned. We will have the background with Jason Todd.
So we're just recreating, trying to jump into current comics. It's like it's exactly what direct translation.
Well, to that point though, when you look at all the projects that Gunn has announced so far, it feels like that's absolutely what he's doing. Where there's going to be a status quo that's already there, and there's going to be some catch-up that you have to do. But ultimately, we're just all going to catch up, and there's going to be like years and years of history before. So plenty of room to do prequels to things, if you wanted to do that. But I mean, the Suicide Squad already felt that way to some degree, which I thought was kind of a breath of fresh air, where it's like, here's a universe that's pre-established, and you've already got like the second version of a character with a particular mantle, with Ratcatcher 2. Like, yeah, her father was the original Ratcatcher. He dies before the movie begins. We're given, a little bit of flashback about him, and we understand who he was, but he's not relevant enough that we have to have him in the movie and spend a lot of time with his history and stuff. We just kind of catch up to all of it. And Gunn was really adept at not just juggling a whole lot of characters, but dropping us into a point in time of a continuity that had been going for years and years and years that he's just now giving us, even though it's also supposed to be part of the DCEU proper. And BVS attempted that and wasn't as good at it, partly just because the idea that Batman predates Superman by a bunch of decades kind of bugs me, or by a bunch of years at least.
That would be like setting up your entire universe as Iron Man being the first superhero, and then all of a sudden finding there's all these other superheroes that were around way before him.
Yeah, it'd be pretty weird if they did that, right?
Yeah, that'd be crazy. Maybe whole prequel films that take place before it.
MP, I don't think you have to know as much backstory as you might think, just what's relevant to the Bruce and Damian story in that movie, or in Brave the Bold. The backstories of the Bat family can be gradually unveiled. I think there's probably truth to that. I resist starting with Damian just because I'm an old person, and that feels so late to me, and, like, I'm glad that happened while I was in high school, as opposed to my being born a lot later and having to catch up to, and Damian's a thing that, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Hey, who knows? I mean, they started with Miles and Into the Spider-Verse, and it was great, even though we weren't, super excited about that. So it could be great. I'm hoping it's great.
No, of course, me too. I mean, the only thing I really resist about it, I'm honestly not resisting the pre-established Bat family. I think that's actually fantastic. I'm curious to see how they juggle all the history, and I don't like necessarily starting this late in it. The bigger thing for me is I just don't like Damian.
yeah, which is that's perfectly fine. It's a perfectly fine opinion to have.
So hopefully they turn me around on that with that movie, and I have liked him in things. So I mean, there's precedent.
Yeah, Damian's young. AMC Comics says Damian's young to a point that he's hard to cast. That's a good point. Chloe Grace Moretz can play him.
Well, I mean, she's not a teenager anymore either, and he's not a teenager. He's like a preteen. And like, are we gonna go that far? Are we gonna actually have a 10, 11, 12-year-old Damian? Probably so. It being gone. I mean, I would think he would want to take it that far, just because it's never been done.
Yeah, except for Hit Girl.
Yeah, exactly. And then the difficulty you have there, of course, is you cast somebody that's on the verge of puberty, and the next time you see them, the voice is dropped.
Yeah, especially when you announce
3 feet taller.
19 films.
Yeah.
To get to.
The next announcement we'll get for Brave of the Bold is, by the way, they're making 4 of them back to back.
Yeah, or Harry Pottering it.
Hey, Hot Soup agrees with me. Hot Soup also doesn't like Damien. How many super chats do we have left?
We have 5.
Okay, let me mention a couple more pieces of news just very briefly while we're in there. I put this in the description, so I should probably say something about it. So we got behind the scenes photos for Batgirl, which we're never gonna see ostensibly. I still hope this leaks at some point. And I'm hearing a lot of folks. Oh, it's not showing the pictures now. It was earlier.
No, they took them down.
They took them down apparently. Well, hopefully you've seen these pictures, because I'm not gonna go try to find them now. But there's one with this kind of like side-by-side thing where it's on set and they're showing monitors, and it's got and it's got 89 Batman in like a church kind of setting, like in 89, and there's a laptop open that looks like it's a frame from that original movie, from the Burton film, and they're trying to recreate that, or at least make it look as close as possible. And then there's a couple of other set photos. They show the car in an alleyway, and it looks stylized and more like the 89 world, which makes you wonder, especially after Flash, like, are they actually in his world, or is it like a hodgepodge thing where the DCEU now is supposed to look have a Gotham that looks more like that? Hard to say. I don't know, but I'm hearing people say, like, oh god, look at these set photos, this proves why they canceled that movie. And I'm like, how? In what way? Everything looks fine to me. Like, I'm not saying that movie was great, because I don't know, and obviously, but some of the things that people have been complaining about, just as far as the what's the word I'm looking for? what that movie looks like and how cheap it looks, I'm not seeing just based on set photos. And I've never been in the camp that even hates that costume. I mean, I'm not in love with the costume in the comics that they're sourcing from with that in the first place, but like with Batgirl, the actual suit itself, like it's fine. I don't know why people hate it so much. I guess that's just me, but but I don't know, the production quality, like you'd have to see the movie before you knew for sure. But I think there's some hilarious kind of irony with it. Like they had the '89 car on set and they were gonna like use it. Because spoiler alert, but it's just in the cave in '89. They never use it. They don't, or in '89 in Flash, they never do anything with it. It's like they actually used it. It looks like they're actually doing '89 stuff with '89 Batman, which they did not do in the Flash. So I think that's hilarious. But I don't think there's. I don't know. I guess I'm bringing this up to say that it's kind of non-news. Because a lot of people grabbed onto it and were like, oh, thank God we're never going to see this movie. And I was like, I don't know, it piqued my interest more.
Yeah, that's crazy. I wonder if that's floating around somewhere still.
Probably so.
It's got to be.
So, the first episode of Secret Invasion dropped today, and I didn't get a chance to finish it, but I watched the first 2/3 of it or so, and so far, I'm not real impressed with it, but we'll see how it goes. I was kind of bored, and it honestly is watching a little too TV, a little kind of cheap to me, but I'm not gonna, sit here and review it, because I haven't finished it, but not awful yet or anything, I'm not into it yet, but I did want to bring this up because it's funny. They made the Secret Invasion intro with AI artwork, and you can tell it's AI artwork. And the reason it bugs me is just because it looks like all of these AI apps that I've seen anytime I've gone in and messed around with it and tried to make AI art, like, this is the style. This is what it looks like.
That's terrible. Why would they do that?
The argument from the showrunner makes no sense to me. Ali Salem says the intro sequence was designed by Method Studios using artificial intelligence, something he thinks plays with the very themes of the show. So I guess the argument is because it's shape-shifting, it makes sense that AI would be making it. Does that make any sense to you? He says, when we reached out to the AI vendors, that was part of it. You reached out to the AI vendors. I don't understand that. Like, does that mean you typed things into an AI, or you actually had to, like, work with the people that have the programs or the apps and, like, talk to them? Because later in this article, he talks about just... we kept talking to the AI and feeding stuff in, and then we would tweak it by changing the language. So, like, is that what he means by reaching out to the AI vendors? I don't get that.
Is that what Indiana Jones was doing in the fourth Indiana Jones movie? Was he reaching out to the AI vendors? That's what they call those the little council of the aliens at the end, is the AI vendors?
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure, it was kind of meta, because I'm pretty sure the production was reaching out to the AI vendors with that chipmunk at the beginning. It just came right out of the shape-shifting Skrull world identity, No. No. I don't know. Who did this? Who is this? Salem says, but you could get the same effect from a person drawing it. Like many people, Salem says he doesn't really understand how the artificial intelligence works. Oh my God, we are just living in a satire now, folks. But was fascinated with the ways in which the AI could translate the sense of foreboding he wanted for the series. We would talk to them about ideas and themes and words, and then the computer would go off and do something. And then we would change it a little bit by using words, and it would change.
It just sounds like he thought it was super cool, and they popped on this trendy thing to just do it. That seems weird. It's going to be super dated.
It sounds to me like he just hadn't bothered messing around with an AI art thing like I did on this show one day, and he was like, this looks really neat, because if I'd done that a week later, I would have been like, oh, it always comes up with the exact same style. I'm not going to keep doing this. Like, Nick Fury looks all amorphous and funky, and he's got like an eye that's bigger than the other eye, and
Yeah, if they sourced it when you first said that, I thought they sourced it to like a design studio, and then they just used AI as a tool to like amplify their work, and like, but it sounds like they didn't even have artists helping it. They just kept writing different copy. That's weird.
Matale says the idea is that the Skrulls are trying to assimilate humans, and the AI is trying to create an opening that looks unusual. I still don't understand why that inherently would lead you to using AI.
It doesn't look unusual now because I've seen it everywhere for the last 3 months, like nonstop.
Yeah, it's getting... It just feels like a bunch of people that got a new toy and won't stop playing with it. Because like AI YouTube videos have gotten so trendy, and I can't even bring myself to click on any of them. Because the funky thing in my brain is there's not really a human being behind this. So I'm not that I really like vote with my dollar that much when I'm watching YouTube videos. I mean, I will click on things just because it's interesting. So this is gonna be a weird thing for me to say, but I do feel kind of weird where it's like, so somebody's getting the ad revenue for a video because they went to an AI and they said, like.
Okay, that makes sense then.
Make a speech given by FDR about dinosaurs, and then there's a YouTube video now where like that person is getting paid for coming up with that idea, which like I guess is fine, but I don't know. It's just like after because I've used ChatGPT a few times because it's funny and it can be enjoyable, and I have thought about posting some of the weird things that I've gotten it to say, so I get the novelty of that, but there are people that are trying to make whole like YouTube channels and careers out of it now, and
yeah, but that's always been
odd.
the case. There's always been YouTube channels that are just like reading a Wikipedia page in video form. Like it's always been.
I guess that's fair.
Like you put pictures and you read the Wikipedia page and people learn because they don't want to read themselves.
Now, I feel like if I were going to do a video or a channel where it was me taking really silly AI scripts and just dramatically reading them, there's at least a human component to that. I'm at least giving a performance.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, some of the, I mean, I see some of those like, oh, what's Wes Anderson's Harry Potter movie look like? But yeah, I don't, some of them are kind of fun, but I don't know. I don't see what the point is of having an ongoing channel of just that. It gets kind of old after a while. And Wes Anderson has a real movie coming out this week, so go see that. Asteroid City. I'm excited.
You know, while we still have those.
Oh, AMC Comics just brought up something that I meant to send you the other day. You've probably heard about this. I wanted to hear your thoughts on it.
Yeah.
He says, oh, I just remembered. Have you guys heard that Kevin Smith has reportedly seen the Schumacher cut of Batman Forever and expects it to release?
Yeah, I only saw a headline about it.
Same. That's all I saw.
But that's exciting if that finally happens. And my only question about that, and I mean, you know, once it comes out, that's great, but it's kind of like the Superman 2 Donner cut thing where it's like, it's about damn time. Like, why did it take so long for us to finally get... We've known forever, I did that on purpose, that there was, you know, extra footage floating around, and that it massively informed that movie, and that it's probably a better movie with that stuff added back in. I wonder how much longer it is. Like, I wonder if there's anything we don't know about that would come back into that. Because if we get a Schumacher cut and it is 3 minutes longer, that's disappointing. If all it
like
gives
the
us...
Electro movie.
Yeah, but at least that wasn't like decades later. If or like that other cut of...
it's the Spider-Man. That's exactly what it is. The editor's
Spider-Man,
cut.
the editor's cut of Spider-Man 3, which
was
is
like, okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I got messages from people that were so impressed with that, and I watched it, and I was like, you guys are, I'm sorry, wasting my time.
No, you guys did like a blind commentary, and you couldn't even tell. I think you and Eric did
We
that.
seriously thought about stopping in the middle of it. Did we actually do a commentary on that? I thought we just talked about it.
Maybe so. I thought you guys actually watched it, because I remember you like not
We
being
watched
able
it
to tell.
together. No, I remember what happened. We talked about it in a video, but we watched it together, and we turned it off halfway through.
Okay, yeah, that's what it was. How come it's only with superhero films that we have to call it after the director. Like specifically the Snyder cut, the Schumacher cut, the Ayer cut.
Is that true?
Like,
yeah, you're right.
Everything else is just the director's cut.
With Blade Runner, it's just the director's cut. Yeah, it's like, no, we're aware of who made it.
I guess with Snyder it made sense because there was another director that came on, so you had to be specific. But we don't need to call it the Schumacher cut. We just need to call it the director's cut.
You know, when you say it's only superhero movies, it's actually only unless there's something you can think of I'm not thinking of, it's only those examples, because the Donner cut also made sense because Lester came in and made Superman 2. So it's the Donner cut because you didn't get Donner's Superman 2.
Yeah.
But you got Schumacher's Batman Forever. It would just be a director's cut.
Which he made the decisions to cut those things. I don't know.
But the difference is a cut versus a different person that made it. Yeah. You know? So, like, you can have a director's cut of a movie that guy made, but that's not the cut he would have released.
Yeah.
Versus
that's kind of the
somebody else came in and changed this movie, but the original guy made stuff and didn't get his movie out. Well, now it makes sense to put his name on it.
Yeah, and that kind of holds water, too, for the people calling it the Ayer cut that they want, because he did get the studio really interfered with his
the only reason they're calling that the Ayer cut is for uniformity with the Snyder cut. That's it.
Yeah.
Well, no, to be fair, it is, I guess it's kind of like that because he was, sort of kicked out of the editing bay, but we've never really talked about it like that before when that's happened with directors.
Yeah, what about the Johnson cut?
Which happens.
Daredevil, the Johnson cut.
Yeah. Yeah, because a lot of things happened against his blessing.
Yeah. That's great. Let's just get all the cuts. Get the Norton cut of Incredible Hulk, the Webb cut of Amazing Spider-Man. Let's just get all of them. Every single one. Let's see. We got Goofster 123.
Yeah.
Should we expect a delay on the Rewind movie due to Jack Stryker? Congrats, by the way.
Yeah, the short answer to that is probably. I still haven't finished the script. I've been a little bit back and forth on how that project is going to come together now, since, like, I was working real hard on that script, and then we found out that Sarah was pregnant, and I have had a hard time getting back to it. I want to finish it. I'm not saying the movie is not going to happen, and I don't mean to be like wishy-washy on this stuff and constantly, canceling things halfway through or whatever. But just to be brutally honest with everybody, we were not expecting to have another kid right now, so it is entirely a surprise. I don't think Sarah would mind me mentioning that. It is a surprise. We weren't really planning for that to happen right now, so it's kind of changing my year quite a bit. So yes, the short answer is we will at least be delayed. Hopefully, I can still make the thing. I will say Pierce is working on a costume for it right now. Ooh. And so, I mean, I have every intention of getting it made. But it's a little hard to say how that process is going to work out.
Cool. Well, now you just have another time travel stage of Jason.
Yeah.
If it's a boy.
I think I've got a couple of years before it would be ridiculous to use the script anything like as it is, where I would have to really start changing stuff, too much of it. But and I'm also just in a very difficult section with the movie where there's a lot of choices to make, and it's a hard part of it to write, because if I mess it up, it's gonna really screw up the whole project.
No pressure.
So, yeah.
Dave Atkins, £10 super chat.
Yeah.
Rewatching Blade 2, I've always wondered how Whistler's leg wound never healed itself automatically after becoming a vamp, temporarily then getting cured. Did it just come back after becoming human again?
Boy, I haven't seen that movie in forever, but I remember having that thought. Maybe I even talked about it when I reviewed it. I forget now. It's been so many years. But that is pretty crazy. Like, it should heal.
Yeah, I just want to go into the song from Always Sunny every time we talk about nerdy stuff like this. What are the rules? What? All the rules. There's like a whole song where they realize they're turning into a musical in that episode, and then they have a whole song about what are the rules of whatever musical thing they're doing. It's a great episode.
Oh, that's funny. Well, I mean, the rules are pretty consistent with those movies, but I feel like that's a thing that we do sometimes where I'm trying to think of a good example, because I was annoyed about this the other day with something where it's like this character still has this wound just because it's iconic or something, but I can't think of what it was, where it's like it should have healed. Why didn't it heal?
Yeah. Another super chat from Utale. 35
Yeah.
South African Rand. Who would be a better mentor to a Miles Morales in their universe? Garfield or Maguire? Also,
Oh, I thought you meant like the cat.
Garfield or Odie? Who would be a better mentor?
Just before, I wasn't looking at the question.
Garfield or Maguire? And then he has a second one, but it's completely different.
A better mentor to
A Miles Morales in their universe.
I'm gonna say Garfield, but it could be Maguire if only we had a Spider-Man 4 and 5. You know what I mean? Because we're left in such a weird place with him at the end of 3.
Yeah, both of them really. Like we they didn't really get to mature. I wouldn't really think of either of them as a mentor yet. Like he's still making stupid mistakes in Spider-Man 3, and then Andrew's matured a little bit, or Garfield as you call him.
But he's in
not
such
really.
a
He's so like in a horrible place at the end of 2. After
yeah.
Gwen
He's so
dies.
traumatized at that point.
I don't know if he's ready to be a mentor either.
Yeah, and he's still kind of in that tragic place in No Way Home.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if Miles is. He's definitely not learning from Chris. They're not as good as Chris Pine in Into the Spider-Verse.
But I will say, if you look at the pseudo future versions of them in No Way Home, I would certainly pick Garfield over Maguire, or not Garfield over. No, Maguire over Garfield.
Strike that, reverse it.
Strike that, reverse it. Yeah.
Except I don't know
Because he seems like he's gotten things more figured out. Maybe.
Yeah, he's calmer in his temperament, but I don't know what he's learned. I don't know what he's done. He doesn't really talk about what he's done since we've seen him last.
Yeah, but I mean, they both are still being Spider-Man, so I feel like maybe he's probably a better Spider-Man in his older age. But then I also think that he's gotten older. Like I think more time has passed for him. Maybe.
Yeah. Is there any line about Mary Jane at all in that movie?
Yeah, there is. I mean,
Okay.
it's been a while. I've only seen it a couple times, but no. I think yeah, he has. There's that talk about how it took them a while, but they kind of patched things up. Like I think they're together even.
Okay.
I may be wrong about that. Somebody will tell us. Somebody that knows that movie way better than me. Oh, you know what? I kept forgetting the gong.
Yeah, we've got you've missed like 15.
I know. That'll make up for all. Here, we'll do another one. There we go. I'm not gonna do 15. That'll just annoy everyone.
Yeah, as long as he's mature and he's not like the How It Should Have Ended, or he's like, no, I'm Spider-Man.
Stop narrating. DJ, how many more super chats do we have, man? Because we are right at 2 hours.
We have 3.
Okay. So yeah, I will fulfill those, and then we will wrap up for the evening. I hope you guys have had a good time. Thanks a bunch for hanging out with us. We've had a nice crowd tonight, and I've appreciated all the questions. And you know what? I'm sorry. Before you get to another super chat, let me mention one more positive piece of news I wanted to talk about for those of you that are into video games. I know it's not our whole audience, but yesterday, I think, or maybe it was the day before, there was, I think it was yesterday, there was a Nintendo Direct where some very exciting Mario projects were announced. We're getting a new 2D Mario game as early as, I think, October this year. Nintendo has been great lately about keeping things under wraps like crazy until just 2 or 3 months before they decide to release a thing, or sometimes even almost day of, and then it'll be like a huge thing that people actually really want, that they're really excited about. And that's happened more often with remakes of things. And one of the things they announced is a full-on remake of of Super Mario RPG, which nobody was expecting, I don't think, and it looks spectacular. And I'm not a big RPG guy, but that was the first RPG I ever played any of, and I've tried to go back to it and get through it, and there's a couple places I keep getting stuck with it, so I probably will play the remake, because it'll probably be a little bit more playable, I would imagine. But anyway, the 2D game, there've been a lot of rumors that they were finally going to make another 2D game that had nothing to do with New Super Mario Brothers or with Mario Maker, and I wasn't going to get super stoked about that until I saw what they were doing with it, because we haven't innovated with 2D Mario in forever, and this thing looks so imaginative and different, and the trippiest thing they've maybe ever made. Like, it looks like Mario is on drugs, and you can't trust anything he's seeing. It's really cool. It does not look like a mainstream Mario game. It's really neat what they're doing with it. And just go check out the trailer, but I'm very excited about that, and I'll definitely buy that day one. Like I said, the other thing was Mario RPG, which people are really excited about, and the graphics with that look absolutely great. It's pretty neat. Oh, yes, AMC. I was going to bring that up too. The Arkham trilogy has been announced for Switch this year also. And that's exciting, just to be able to have those on the go. I've been really wanting that, so I'm glad that's happening. What I hope maybe they'll do, and I don't expect this, but I hope that they'll give us a mode that's essentially like the Armored Edition on the Wii U, where you could use, where like if you're playing well, actually, I don't even know how that would work. I was gonna say where like you could use your system and your TV at the same time, but that's not really how that works. So I guess we couldn't do that. Okay, scratch that. I wish we'd been able to do those other games with the Armored Edition system, because that was a really cool use of the gamepad. But we don't really have a gamepad anymore, so they can't really do that. But anyway. But it is neat that you'll be able to have that on the go, and I wonder how well Arkham Knight will perform on that system.
Yeah,
because I kind of think it's going to have hiccups, and they might have to. I wonder how hard they'll have to optimize it. Yes, Wonder is what that's called. Super Mario Wonder. I'm with you, Plushy DX. I think that's going to sell a ridiculous amount of copies.
I'm excited. I'm looking at the trailer right now.
Isn't it cool? And he's got an elephant suit.
It looks like they're innovating a bunch more in 2D Mario, which they haven't done in a while. Like, I like Super Mario Bros. What's it called? Wii U, the one for Wii U, and like the Luigi one, but they were fun, but I don't know, they didn't have a lot of replay value for me.
No, and they milked that engine for 10, 12, 15 years.
Yeah,
like they just kept they made New Super Mario Brothers for every system, just over and over again, and there's some really cool levels in those. But what I'm really liking about what we're seeing so far with Wonder is that none of that looks like something you could do in a Mario Maker level. Like, they're never going to be able to really give you a Wonder setting in Mario Maker, because you've got like trippy pipes that get all wonky and suddenly start like folding in things, and it kind of feels like if the Heffalumps and Woozles from Winnie the Pooh like suddenly took over Mario.
Yeah, this seems like Super Mario World to Super Mario 3. You know?
Yeah,
seems like it's that much of a jump, which is cool.
Well, and that game felt really weird compared to Mario 3 also. Not trippy in the same way, but that's a really good comparison.
That's what it feels like from this little bit I've seen. I'm excited. That's awesome. Thank you. That's the best news you've said all day.
Right? We're going to play it. Maybe it'll have an online co-op mode, and DJ and I can play it together.
Yeah, man, that would be so down. It looks like there's 4 people running at once, so I think there is.
Well, I just don't know if they'll do that online, though. I don't think they've ever done that.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
So, well, yes, couch co-op, but I doubt they'll have an online mode for that. But they could. I don't know.
I hope so. I mean, the other games are doing it. You did the Ninja Turtles with Austin, which I was really jealous of.
Yeah. Yeah, that was fun.
I've been on you've been getting me excited for video games because you ever since the spoiler cast for Across the Spider-Verse where oh my gosh, he turned into an elephant.
Yeah, that's what I said. He's got an elephant suit.
Ever since you mentioned Shadow Dimensions, I've been really wanting to play that game lately.
Yeah, I want to do that too. But I will probably. I gotta finish that Star Trek game. I still haven't done that. But the next thing I'll probably do, because people keep bringing it up and asking me about it, is that Spider-Man game on Dreamcast, and then you and I can finally talk about that.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I would love to play through that. I'd love to play through that game on my 100-inch theater screen downstairs because the graphics are horrible. It's all pixely because it's a PS1 game. Let's see, we got another one from
if you have a CRT, that's the way to play that.
Yeah, of course.
In fact, I might bring my Dreamcast down here and put it on my Batman CRT that I have right over here. That might be the way to play that.
There was another part of Mutali's last super chat about Spider-Man. He just says, also, better Daredevil writer, Miller or Bendis?
I put them kind of right together. Yeah, I don't know how to put one above the other, honestly. I mean, Miller is informing Bendis so much that it's almost not fair to put him over that and say that he eclipsed that. But I think some of the characterization and mythology and stuff that he brought to that, I probably appreciate more than what's in some of Miller. I mean, I'm really rusty and I haven't read all of Bendis, but I've read the beginning of the end and a lot of things in the middle. And I don't know if I've ever read all of Miller. Yeah, I kind of did the same thing with Miller, too, to be perfectly honest with you. But, yeah. So, I don't know. I guess gun to my head, I'd have to say Bendis. But that is tough. That's a great question. I don't know that I've ever been asked that. I probably have. But I don't remember.
AMC Comics. Oh, man, I love the Spider-Man 2000 game. Any chance you can stream it, Cap? I know. It's so exciting that he's going to play it.
I will not likely stream it. I will probably just play it and then talk about it after the fact. Partly because it would just be really difficult to stream it. I would have to get an adapter that would let me convert from composite to HDMI, because that'd be the only way that I could get it into my computer.
Yeah.
And that is a pricey adapter.
So we will have a super chat goal next week to pay for the pricey adapter.
Maybe, but also I just suck at video games, and you guys would probably have more fun just listening to me talk about it after I play it than watching me futz around trying to figure out where to go.
Well, you could use the cheat codes to get the Captain Universe suit that makes you invulnerable and just keep playing.
Can I have that suit for everything I play?
Only Spider-Man games.
Can I also have a thing that makes it so that in every game, I don't need a map, and whenever I'm finished with a mission, it just automatically teleports me out of a building? Can I have that?
There is some kind of map stuff. You get, like, navigating your way. Especially, I think it's like the first level you have to go save a bank that's getting robbed and stop the bombs. So you might fall off pretty quickly.
Guys, I really appreciate your interest in Waste Your Time Volution, but I don't know that I should do that to anyone.
But after that, you get into the villains and all the cool stuff.
Okay, we've got to wrap up here. Do we have any more super chats?
Yes, we have a couple here. MP499, would you consider doing a speculation cast on Brave and the Bold and Batman/Bat Family in the DCU in general?
Yeah, absolutely. We did one when... So Austin and I did a speculation cast when Gunn was first announced, and then there was new information immediately after that made at least 20% of our conversation completely null and void. But I think doing a discussion on just the Batman side of that is a really good idea. So I almost want to say, now that you've suggested that, I almost want to say just expect it. Austin and I are always looking for excuses to do speculation casts, because I think he is better at it than me. He always comes in with ideas he's thought of for the future of this stuff that it would have never been on my radar, and people always seem interested in them. So
Yeah, that's
Yes.
his favorite thing.
Austin, if you're listening, don't let me forget. We'll do that in the not too distant future. Yeah, we'll do a Brave and the Bold spoiler cast. That's a great idea.
I hope he's not listening after all our gun slander earlier.
Well, yeah, no, he probably turned it off, or he like skipped ahead. Where he was like, okay, when do they stop doing that? It's not slander. I'm just not as confident about the whole thing as Austin and some other people might be, or I should say, I just have question marks about some of the things that he is, some of the ways he's handling stuff. I hope that he'll be able to say "I told you so" when that director makes Brave and the Bold. I also am not totally convinced that sticks. I mean, I think that it is possible that he gets booted from that because of the performance of Flash. Because remember, that was announced before any box office returns came in.
Bless you, DX. I love gun slander. That's a good name for your son. Name him Gun Slander.
Gun Slander.
Almost said your last name. I'm getting distracted. I keep getting
It's not a
distracted
secret or nothing, but yeah.
I keep getting distracted by all the Nintendo Direct trailers that keep just auto-playing on my screen over here after the Mario one. The Sonic Superstars, or whatever that's called, looks pretty cool.
I have not talked about that on the channel yet either, but I think that could go either way, but I am cautiously optimistic with it.
Yeah. Hope it's great.
Because that is not immediately what I want. Like, I want more Sonic Mania, but that looks like it could be the best of both worlds, and it looks like it's taking a lot of the right cues from Colors.
Yeah.
I'm not in love with the music. Is really the only thing so far, but we'll see what it's like.
All right, two left. Mutale Hodson was rumored to write Brave and the Bold. Hodson.
I don't know who that is right now.
I don't either.
I think I read that somebody that was supposed to be on that movie has already been booted off of it. That
Christina Hodson. I don't know what she's from. I'll have to do some research.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't write off either.
And then his last one from Mutale is, did you hear what Zaslav has done now? Also, R.I.P. Ramita Sr.
I mean, you have to be more specific with the Zaslav thing. I don't know. Oh, the Birds of Prey writer. Yeah, they keep giving her work for some reason.
Christina Hodson was... Yeah, I don't know what he's talking about. What Zaslav has done now.
Yeah, sorry, y'all have to be more specific with that. DJ sent me an article today mentioning that they've taken unceremoniously Space Ghost Coast to Coast off Max, and that's been happening with several Cartoon Network things. And DJ, I was worried as soon as we got the announcement, not just with Max, but a year ago when Zaslav took over and they started axing stuff. I was like, well, my favorite thing is going to go. Like one of the reasons that I'm subscribed I was subscribed to HBO Max was because of Cartoon Network stuff. I'm like, they're going to start slashing animation. Like, people aren't watching the stuff that I like that I'm watching. For the like 2.5 people in the audience that even know what Space Ghost Coast to Coast is and would care about that. Never fear, though, at least so far, because even though it got taken off Max, it is still on the Adult Swim website. I went and checked that real quick because they uploaded every episode of that show to the Adult Swim website to honor J. Martin Crocker when he passed away, the voice of Zorak. And it was cool when it went to Max, but it wasn't a huge deal because it was already watchable. I mean, you know, probably maybe harder to do it on your phone. I guess I'm not sure. You probably can, but like, it's in a web browser as opposed to an app. But it is still possible to watch that. Hopefully, it doesn't leave that because they never put the last 2 seasons of that out mass market. You could only buy those with a weird print-on-demand thing that does not exist anymore. Like, I don't own 4 and 5 because you cannot get your hands on them. So hopefully it doesn't completely go away, but the good news is it is still watchable. Turner Classic Movies layoffs, says Danvers. I had not heard about that.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. Apparently, it was a big deal, and he Zaslav contacted Scorsese and Spielberg to ease fears around the TCM layoffs. So apparently, like, big names in Hollywood are like mad at him. That's interesting.
We're just trying to figure out the news as we go along here.
I wonder if this is related to, because a friend of mine who I met at a movie theater, because he recognized me from the channel, works for TCM, and he got laid off recently, which was really sad. And I wonder if that was related.
Oh, she is.
That's a huge bummer.
Yeah, that sucks.
But that is all. What, we got one more super chat from 5590 ERS 499. Better comic, in your opinion, Cap, Kingdom Come or Earth X?
Yeah, so I just reviewed Earth X last night with Austin, and we compared that to Kingdom Come quite a bit, of course, because Alex Ross worked on both of those books, and the initial premise with Earth X is really close to Kingdom Come, but they go in very, very different directions and are not at all the same book, and are kind of opposite in some ways, which is cool. So I think it's worth your time to read both. I think at the end of the day, I'm going to give it to Earth X, although it is overwritten in a way that Kingdom Come isn't. But I think it's a better and it's a more creative and clever story. So yeah, I think it edges it out. Austin would absolutely say Earth X because he doesn't like Kingdom Come, but I still appreciate that book. But I think Earth X is actually probably, I mean, I would describe that as like a magnum opus. Like it starts off slow, and I'm not sure why I'm reading it, and by the end I feel like it's required reading.
Wow.
It's great. But if you want to listen to me talk about that for an hour and a half, I have a video that long or longer that I just made last night. Well, DJ, did we do it? Did we get through everything?
Up for debate, but I have no more questions.
Okay.
If that's what you're asking.
Everybody, thanks a bunch for being here. We sure appreciate you. We'll see you again next Thursday night, if all goes according to plan. And then right after that, I'm going to be on vacation for a bit. My wife and I are going to be celebrating our anniversary on a trip, and so I won't have any material for about a week and a half or so, starting around the 1st. So I'll let you know when we get closer to time, just how long I'll be out. But just to let everybody know what's going on, July is going to be real iffy, because I'll have that trip, and then a couple weeks after that, I've got another trip with my family, and I don't actually know how many days I'm going to be out for that. So July will be a little bit spotty, but I will still go live when I can. And anyway, DJ, thanks a lot for doing this, man. As always, I sure appreciate you.
I always enjoy it. Thanks for having me.
I couldn't do it without you. Or, I mean, I could, but it would be boring.
Well, glad I could help. It's always fun.
Anyway, we'll see you later, folks. I was Captain Logan, and this was DJ Martinez. Later, folks. Oh my God, there she is.